client is a little bit upset. This is a complaint letter. Okay, so when will we write a complaint letter? Of course, when you want to complain something to someone. Okay, and then how to write an effective complaint letter, and then you can really meet your needs. That is really important. So today we are going to learn how to do this. So having a problem with the product or service can be really frustrating. So when a person trying to resolve the problem with the company, the first step actually should be discuss your concern with the representative of the business. So usually we'll make a phone call. So if a phone call, or sometimes we write an email, if this like a phone call or email doesn't resolve the problem, then you are going to think about to write a complaint letter. Okay, so a letter is very important. It puts your complaint on record with the company, helps preserve any legal rights you might have in a situation. So it also let the company know that you are serious about pursuing the complaint. So that's also why how to write this letter is really important. You don't want to spend 3 hours writing a letter and then you heard nothing back. Okay, so here are a few things in the complaint letter it should include. First, in the complaint letter should describe your problem and outcome you want directly. Second, a complaint letter need to include the key dates, such as when you purchase the goods or services and when the problem occurred. Okay, the third thing is in this letter you need to identify what action you have already taken to fix the problem and what you will do if you and the seller cannot resolve the problem. The next things you need to include into a complaint letter is to ask for a response within a reasonable time. So that means you cannot say you send out the letter today and then want the person to reply to you in an hour. That is not a reasonable time. Okay. And then the next one, you should include attachment. You need to attach a copy of any supporting relative documents, such as your receipt or such as the invoice or like anything you have. Also maybe like the email, your conversation that you have with when you start as a first step to talk about this issue and the problem. Okay, so here are a few things you need to include in your letter. So let's go into see some tips when you can have when you write an effective complaint letter. So the first one we say you need to be really clear and concise. That means when you describe an item or service like you bought and the problem, include the model, the number, and the name of the location of the sellers. And then if you are having a follow-up conversation, be sure to say who you spoke with and confirm the detail of your discussion. So you need to be very clear. Don't put really vague information there. So that's also why if you find out the product or service has a problem, when you call the representative of a company, you do want to have the person's number or you want to have the person's name as well. Okay, and the next tips keep in mind is you need to state exactly what you want it done and how long you are willing to wait for a response. Okay, make sure when you do this, when you ask what you want, and then when you tell the person the date, the time for the response, make sure you need to be reasonable. Like I say, you cannot send an email and ask the person to respond to you in the next hour. That is not reasonable. Usually the reasonable time period would be like 48 to 72 hours. That means maybe within 3 days. Or some company will tell you when you file this online complaint letter or customer services, they will tell you, they will contact you maybe within a week, for example. And then the next one, when you write this letter, make sure, remember, keep in mind, don't write an angry or threatened letter. Okay, do not threaten the person, no matter how angry you are. Okay, because this, as we say, as a letter, you write it, you put it in the word. That is the record you have. So that is important. You use more warm and reasonable tone in your writing. So also the person who received this email, reading the email, probably is not responsible for the problem. So the person is trying to help you solve the problem. That's why when you write a complaint letter, no matter how mad you are, how upset you feel, you don't threaten the person. Okay, don't write a threaten letter. Next one. We say in this letter, you also need to include the copies of relative documents, like we say the receipts, the work orders, the warranties, or if you do already have some emails communication with the company or the person, you want to include that email as well. Okay, the last thing is very important. You need to include your name and the correct contact information. Okay, you don't want to send a letter to the person, to the company, and then they will not be able to reach you and help you solve the problem. So you do want to have correct information for the company to reach you. Okay, so next we are going to read an example together, and then you can see how the person filed his complaint letter. Okay, so now we are going to read this letter together. This is an example of a letter of complaint, and then this is an email letter. So you can see to, which means the person is send an email letter, complaint letter to an airline company. And then to make sure when you write an email letter, check the subject line is really clear. Okay, so like here means formal letter of complaint. Alright, so this is a really serious problem the person has. Okay, so if you forget about the subject line in the email, you might want to check the lessons in previous week. Okay, this week, I think the second lesson we discussed about formal email and informal email. So you may want to check there. So let's look at this letter together. You start with the letter, talk about dear sir or madam, your greeting. Okay, and then you have your first paragraph. You will explain the situation, like what happened. So like here you say on April 15th, 2016. My flight departed from Berlin to London on flight number UK153. So here you point out the date and then the situation. Okay, so to my disappointment, the flight had to land in Paris because of the volcanic eruption in Iceland. Okay, we arrived to catch a connecting flight from Charles Airport. I was fortunate that the event in Iceland did not cause a cancellation of the flight as well, but it was delayed for more than 6 hours. As I had missed my business meeting in London anyway, I decided not to take the plane. So in the paragraph, the first paragraph, you tell the company about the situation. So this person explained the airport he departed and then his final destination in London. However, they were like forced to land it in Paris because the volcano eruption. Okay, that is kind of the problem happened in 2016 in Europe. Let's cause a serious problem. But here he explains they need to catch the connecting flight. However, the flight was delayed, so that's why he missed his business trip as well. So that's why he also decided not to take a plane. So he explained the situation to the company in a very concise and short way. And the second paragraph, he starts to say, since May of 2016, I have been trying to obtain a refund for my ticket from Paris to London. Under EU regulation, I am supposed to receive a refund because of my flight was delayed more than 6 hours. So in the second paragraph, the person explained the situation and tell the company why he should get a refund. Alright, so here is based on the law. Okay, the next paragraph, let's look at together. So I have included a copy of my claim for the refund I sent on May 25th last year. By July, I still had not heard anything, so I emailed customer relations to ask about the progress on my claim. I still have not received a reply. So you can see here, the person mailed out this letter, his first letter in May. However, he waited until July, so it's like 3 months after he sent out the email, but he heard nothing. So make sure, like here you can see he collect all these dates, so it's very clear when the airline company receive this complaint letter, they will know this person actually start his action on time in May, and then but the company didn't do anything. So the next paragraph is a person's request. So let's see here. So he said, I would like you to give me a refund for the cost of the tickets, 450 euro, 400. Yeah. I'm also giving you a company a deadline to correspond with me with the next 10 days. If you fail to respond within this time, I will take the matter further and consider legal action. So in this paragraph, the last paragraph, the person tell the company what he wants, okay, what he asked. So here he wants to have the money back, and then he gave the company the deadline. So the company must reply within 10 days. Otherwise, here he said he will consider the legal action, which means he might hire a lawyer to sue the company. So at the end of the letter, you still put your sincerely and your name, and then you can see the last slide, the bottom part in the letter here. You put the reservation, the reference, the conference number, okay, which means is his booking number when he purchased the air tickets. And then it also includes some documents, including the receipt, the copy of the email from May 25th. So that's why we say when you want to file a complaint letter, you do want to make sure you have all the documents. You need to send them the copy of the document, but you need to keep the original to yourself. Okay? So this is the sample letter for you to review, and then you can find more information from the references list. And then I don't want you guys file any complaint letter, but if you do need it, then here is the example for you as a reference. Okay, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.